Hi, this is Yvonne, and we're still on that tour, and we're at the home of Mike and Dorothy Cohen at 111 East Doherty. And Bill, another water feature.
Yeah, water features are common in gardens. They sort of set things off. Underneath trees, they'll add a little bit of humidity, and overall they're just pretty pleasant. They're something that is a centerpiece, and it draws people in, and they're relaxing. And you know, when you're out working in your garden, pulling the weeds and that kind of stuff, it's nice to hear the water in the background. Especially in the city too, water features like this that have the extra fountain in it create a little extra noise to try and dull some of the traffic sounds that we can kind of hear right now, right?
Yeah.
But the water feature does kind of dim them out. The Cohens are an example of a small space garden where they've taken a street corner in town and developed every inch of it. They didn't want to mow, so they've used a lot of mulch and then put flowers in between. They've allowed the trees to grow up, so they've got shade plants underneath the trees and plants that prefer the sun just outside the trees.
And I see here too we have a stone path that leads you through the garden.
That's right. They got nice paths that you can kind of take your own route, enjoy it on the way through, and it's another way to keep the weeds down and that kind of thing. It allows you to access different points, but still create an architectural feature in the garden.
Okay, and I see they have a wonderful porch there. In the afternoon, sitting out on the porch and listening to the water feature and taking in the beauty of the garden, very relaxing.
Absolutely, and you can, if you live in a town or you live in a city, you can sort of be overwhelmed by that place. But if you create your own space like they have here, then it allows you basically full use of all your property. If you don't want to come out to the front because of the traffic and the noise and the people going by, put in a garden. Put shrubs between you and the street, and then you've got your own enclosed space. You're still exactly where you were before, but your whole property seems to take on sort of a I don't know if the country feels the right word, but at least a more open, a more private feel.
Yes. And like you said, the taller trees at the front make it a little private there, but it's also friendly because everybody loves plants.
Well, sure, and they've made the paths lead right directly to the sidewalks and to the street. So, I'm sure at some point in time somebody's come along and just kind of follow the path instead of the sidewalk, which I'm sure they don't mind because they're people that have developed this thing to share it with everybody, and that's why they're here on the tour as well.
Let's keep looking.
Okay.
Okay, we're in the backyard here, and it's as pleasant as the front yard.
Even more so. They've got some fencing up, and they've put in some extra shrubbery along the fence. And this is where if you didn't know that the city was right outside that fence, you wouldn't know. They've completely walled it off and created their own environment for the privacy, for the relaxation. And they have this tremendous koi pond in the middle of the backyard. They've done an above ground koi pond here, and it's a really simple design. It's dry stack stone, so in other words there is no mortar between the stones, they're just stacked up together, and very, very simple construction. You don't need a backhoe for that, you don't need heavy machinery. You just stack the stone, and then you put a liner inside it, you put another layer of stone across the top, and you fill it with water, and you've got a fish pond. Very simple design, very elegant, very formal. Considering it's just stacked stones, it adds extremely formal element to the backyard. And obviously the focal point for the back porch and for the outdoor patio. And I think this is one of the fancier patios we've had on the tour. You might notice they've actually got really nice outdoor furniture, and you can actually feel like you're in a room of your house while you're sitting here under the umbrella looking out at the pond.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about this water feature here is that the size of it and the way the bricks are laid, you can have a little seat there, all right? Have a seat there on the side of it.
Sit there. Last night, again, we had some of the kids that fed the chickens at the other garden. They came here, they sat down and fed the fish on the side of this, where you could just kind of gaze down into the pool, watch the fish swim around. Another example of how a garden can be just so relaxing.
Well, too, water features like this are always a wonderment to me because I see the entire plant in the container being underwater.
Yeah, and now that's the sort of, it depends on how big your pond is, but if your pond is sufficiently large, you don't have to grow them in containers. You can grow them loose in the pond. You can also just grow them in the containers in a large pond to keep them contained, or you can grow them in containers in the pond because it's a small pond, and then in the wintertime you can pull them inside and put them in an aquarium, grow them inside, and then bring them back out in the spring. So this pond is sufficiently large that it will not freeze to the bottom. So she's just putting hers in pots to keep them contained, and basically keep the lily pads from taking over the entire surface so that you can't see the fish anymore. But
instead of this one too, with the water dribbling down over the rocks, they've got it like a little umbrella coming out, of it, which is a little different from all the rest.
That's true. And you know that if you get into koi ponds and building them, there is a myriad of different types of fountains, from statuary to what you would consider like a park fountain, to a waterfall like this one, where it's kind of a center thing, and it's kind of as to your taste and what you like to do. But the options are huge.
Well, this is wonderful. I really do like this water feature here. I think I may stay here and sit for a little bit and relax. How about that?
Yeah, get a little water and a cookie and take your time.
Great way to spend my Saturday.
All right.
All right. Well, this is Yvonne, and I'm in Bardstown still for our garden show here, and I'm with Bill Fell, who is our master gardener today, giving us all kinds of good tips and information on these gardens. We're now at the home of Mary Sue Brown at 2900 Virginia Street in Bardstown. Tell us a little bit about this garden.
Well, what Mary Sue has is a very impressive vegetable and berry garden. She also has a lot of perennial flowers in sort of like partitioned off. She does a lot of the gardening herself, and so as we pan across, you're going to be able to see some of the labor-saving techniques that are really valuable when you have a large garden that you're working with just a very few pairs of hands. Mm-hmm. So what she has a type of fabric. It's a type of landscape, professional grade landscape fabric, and she uses 2x4s or different pieces of wood, 2x6s, and whatever scrap wood's available to pin down that fabric. And she cuts tiny holes just where her plants need to go. What this will do is all season long, as the vines grow out or as the plants grow large, it maintains a zero weed environment for those plants. So her weeding is done. She doesn't have to do any more weeding in any of those sections all year long. Makes it extremely, extremely labor saving.
Very smart.
In addition, and I'm not sure if Mary Sue has, but what can also save a ton of energy is when you place that landscape fabric, if you align soaker hoses underneath the fabric, then you don't have to worry about watering later on. You just do a quick release hose at the end, and you can attach your hose and detach the hose as necessary to water row by row. Again, very low level of work, very easy to maintain a large area that way.
Okay, and like you said, just for one person or a couple of people, a few hands involved with this, it makes it a lot easier for you to have a great garden like this.
Absolutely, and also if you have the space, this also makes it possible to give your plants just the maximum amount of space that they're going to require to grow a tremendous amount of food. A lot of people want to grow a garden to save money. It doesn't really save money unless you can grow enough that you can put it away. You can freeze it or make sauerkraut or can your beans. But with labor-saving techniques like this and a little bit of space, you can really grow a tremendous amount of food with not a tremendous amount of labor.
This is Yvonne, and I'm here with the owner of this wonderful garden here, Mary Sue Brown. And tell us a little bit about your garden.
Well, where do you want me to start?
Well, I know you have flowers and you have food plants here.
I have vegetable garden and I also have flowers. A lot of these flowers that you see were one packet of a mixed variety from a Dollar General store that I threw out. And the seed are perennial and annual, so the annuals throw out their own seed. The perennials develop their rootstock and come back every year. No maintenance whatsoever, no weeding, no anything. It's just constant flowers.
Constant beauty.
Constant beauty. We have some cloth down here that we put down this spring, and we're just trying it out to see how it does, but no weeds. We took a propane torch and made the holes so it would seal. And we have cantaloupe and cucumbers and ochre, cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, tomatoes, all planted in it. Then this fall I'll roll it up and then put it down in another area so I can rotate the crops and change the holes. I'm by myself, so therefore I don't need a big garden, but I can take it to St. Vincent's and share it with those people that want some fresh vegetables.
Yeah. Now, how long or how much time per day do you spend out in your garden?
If I'm planning on something like this, more than usual. But I like it in the morning and probably 2 hours is about all, but when it gets warm or when I have other activities to do, then I do some of both.
Okay, some of both. And it takes a little time then to put all this together. Now, what got you interested in gardening? Or have you always been a gardener?
Well, my parents had a garden, so it started out, from the roots. But when we moved out here, my daughter was in high school and she was interested in it, and she has TLC landscaping. So she helped me to get established, and then I go on and do the vegetables and stuff. But if I need a helping hand, then I can go to her and ask her questions, whatever I need.
Okay, now what do you see as the future for your garden? Are you going to get a lot bigger, or are you going to try to stay where you are? What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to have enough for the children because I have a large family, enough for Sunday dinner, and then I share. I don't can and I don't freeze. I share.
You share.
I share, yes.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about that wonderful piece of, let's say, what is that red thing out in your garden?
That red thing out in my garden.
Right there, that tractor.
Oh, the tractor. That's my son-in-law's, and he's renovated it, and my daughter could tell you exactly about it, but he is so proud of it, and he cuts the field for me, so it's a family project that he helps to...
We can always identify your garden then.
Oh, well, no, he'll have it down in the shed. He put it out here special just for those people who were tractor people to be able to enjoy a special tractor.
Okay. I'd like to invite everybody out here to your garden, come out and look at it and get some ideas, because by looking at your garden, we can all dream,
Well, or plant a few seeds and just watch it grow. Yes.
That's a great idea. And get so nice out here with the wind blowing and a nice sunny day.
Nice breeze. We always have a nice breeze. Yes, it is nice.
Okay. Well, come out and see this garden. If you didn't make it out here this time, I'm sure you can drive by sometime and
if I'm out here, just stop and I'll share the wealth.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is Yvonne, and we're at the home of Fred and Lida Moore at 3225 Mary Jo Avenue in Bardstown, and we're in a tree garden.
Well, that's right. This is planted in a French style, a lee. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. But basically, it's trees planted in rows. And Fred, many years ago, actually planted these trees himself, planted every one of them by hand. And basically, it creates a shaded, formal area where all the trees are in perfect rows. Easy to mow around when you have that many, but at the same time, again, very formal, very shady, and provides a lot of very straight, upright trees with not a lot of branches, so increases their timber potential down the road as well.
Any idea how many trees we have here?
I do not remember the number, but I want to say it's around 300.
300 trees,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's lots more to go with this garden, so let's move on.
Excellent.
Hi, this is Yvonne, and I'm with Lida Moore. How you doing, Lida?
Just fine, thank you, Yvonne. Just fine.
Thank you for inviting us out to see your beautiful garden today.
I'm so glad to have everybody here. And the weather's just been beautiful with a little rain this morning to clean everything off and give us a nice fresh start.
Yes. Well, we looked at your tree garden already, but then I
Yes.
noticed there's more to your garden than trees.
Yes, I hope so. My husband is the tree connoisseur.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about what we're looking at now.
Well, we have perennials to the left, and we have some custom stonework, and then we have a hog trough that was my granddaddy's that we replenished and moved from Frankfurt here. And we have a small vegetable garden, and we have some nut tree groves. And
Okay, so you've got a little bit of everything.
yes, and the water is our pièce de résistance. It's just such fun for us. We live pretty much down there.
Yeah. Well, listen, what got you started in gardening?
I have wanted to do this since I was a tiny little girl. When I was in college, I used to go off to class and be all dressed up as we did in the old days, walk up the hill and look at the people who were laying out the plants for the spring, wish that I could just stop and dig in the dirt. I kind of think you're born that way. My mother and daddy were not born that way, but I was.
Okay. Now, I know you have a lot of variety here. How do you choose what you want to put in your garden?
I try to do things that are different. As I get older, I do more and more perennials because they will hopefully come back.
Yes.
That's what's designed to be. I love color, so I have lots of different colors. I don't think you can do anything that clashes with colors that are naturally occurring. And I try some different things that people say won't grow. Recently, I went somewhere and saw something really nice, and I asked the woman what it was, and she said she didn't know. So I said, well, I will have to buy that if she didn't know what it was. So I did.
Always a challenge, huh?
Yes.
You like a challenge. Okay, you've got lots and lots of land out here.
Yes.
And the way that you have set your garden up, tell us a little bit how you've done it, your placement.
Well, my smart husband, who's down at the water, is the one who did all that. I was lucky enough to come into this. He planted the trees so that in the summer they would shade, and in the winter they would block the wind. So he did that. That pretty much was the foundation. After that, we sort of filled in. There was a little square over here, which I made a 40-foot perennial bed, and he built the lake. So we kind of went around after those things and filled in.
Okay. Now, it looks to me like you have everything a garden needs, but I'm sure as a gardener, you see other things that you want to have. What does the future look like for your garden?
Well, gardening is always progressive. And what I would like to do is take that perennial bed over there and move it clear on beyond to that tree, and then put only shade things over around that tree. So that's my next big idea.
Okay, then, well, maybe the next time we come to your house on the tour, we'll be able to see that.
Probably so. I hope so.
Well, Lyda, thank you so much for talking
Thank
to
you.
us today.
We appreciate
Beautiful
it.
garden.
Thank you. We appreciate so much your all being here.
This is Yvonne, and I'm here with
Katie Moore.
Now, Katie, you were telling us a little story about the trees out there, the ash and poplar trees that your dad says that he planted on the property, and there seems to be a little question as to who planted those trees.
Yes, ma'am. When we're younger, I just remember going around following my dad as he would put the spade in the ground and open up the holes for the trees, and me and my brother would stick them in, and then he would come back and he would kick them closed, although he will tell you that's not the case.
So his story is that he planted all those trees, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your story is?
We had to do it all. Child labor, the best.
He had a little help, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Of course.
And that's a lot of trees, so you guys spent a lot of time out there, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. I think we planted 3,500 to start with. So when we first moved here, it was all fields, and then he decided to plant the trees, and then he dug the pond. So
yeah, so now he's up at the pond and left the trees to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, sometimes that's the way it goes, huh?
Yes.
All right, then, well, your trees are lovely.
Well, thank you.
And you did a great job planting those, and you be sure to tell your brother, too, okay?
Yes, ma'am, and we certainly enjoy them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're welcome.